Set up now?
Okay, how's that? Is that close enough to...
Are we good? Is everybody ready?
I got one more.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Melissa Fazekas, and I'm the spokeswoman for the We Are Ohio campaign. Thank you all for coming today. We are really glad that Governor Kasich and the other politicians who passed Senate Bill 5 are finally admitting that this is a flawed bill. And just like the bill is flawed, this approach to a compromise is also flawed. These politicians who passed Senate Bill 5 have the ability to come back and repeal the law, and that's what they should do, repeal the entire law. Or they can join us and vote no in November on issue 2. Any questions?
We already know that unions are meeting, have met on this issue. The governor's just calling for, let's sit down Friday and talk about this. Would you be surprised if AFL representatives or any unions take his invitation and want to talk about this one more time?
We have a broad coalition that represents 1.3 million people who signed petitions to repeal this bill. They're out right now knocking on doors and talking to their friends and family about the extreme measures of this bill and how they will impact their neighbors and family and friends. And we represent those people, and we feel very seriously about our responsibility to represent them and to move forward with a no vote on issue 2 in November.
So are you saying that you will not, We Are Ohio will not accept his invitation to speak on Friday?
We haven't even been approached by the governor at this point in time. What he did was have a press conference and roll out something that we've never seen. So it's really hard for us to discuss any of these possibilities when the governor has not shown us any of what he's willing to compromise on.
But it sounds like short of an outright repeal, is that the only thing that you're going to accept at this point?
That's exactly right. They should repeal the entire bill. They were the politicians who passed it. They should come back and repeal it.
Couldn't you make that part of the negotiations at this point? Could you basically say, we're willing to talk if you come back before August 30th and repeal the bill?
We're saying that if you repeal the bill, and that's what you should do, then there's really nothing else to talk about, is there?
You're not willing then at that point to negotiate?
They should repeal the entire bill.
So you won't be showing up Friday?
We haven't received any formal invitation from the governor to have any of these discussions. What you're telling me is brand new news.
But if you do get an invite, then what?
Our response is that they should repeal the entire bill.
So I just want to make sure I'm clear here. In order for you to pull this off the ballot by August 30th, they have to repeal the whole bill.
That's correct. Repeal all of Senate Bill 5. Or join us in voting no on issue 2.
Melissa, did anyone from We Are Ohio pressure any unions to walk away from earlier discussions?
No, as we said on Friday, we weren't even aware of any of the discussions that were brought to us via press reports.
So if you were not aware of any discussions, how can you know if any union leaders told their members to walk away?
We're not involved in any of those conversations. We didn't know about them.
Okay,
and what we're saying right now is that you need to come back and repeal the entire bill.
But were you not involved because We Are Ohio didn't exist then? Do you know from any of the relationships you have whether anyone was involved?
I don't know about any of the timelines because we weren't involved. What we said on Friday and what I continue to say is that we have a leadership structure in place with We Are Ohio. Our campaign manager was never contacted by anyone from the governor's office about a negotiation or a compromise. And what we continue to say today is that if you want to come back, you have the power to do so. Come back, come into session, and repeal the entire bill.
So you don't think any parts of Senate Bill 5 are workable at all?
They need to repeal the entire bill.
It's obvious all of us are holding the letter that you're going to get. You're going to be asked to the table. So it's not like a question of if or maybe or whatever. So you're saying that no matter what, you're not coming unless they repeal.
They need to repeal the entire bill.
So the AFL-CIO will not be at the table?
They need to come back and repeal the entire bill.
But that's not answering the question. Do you plan to be involved in Friday's discussions?
I cannot speak for individual members of our coalition. I can speak for the entire coalition, which is unanimous in what we said on Friday, which is that we stand together with the 1.3 million people who signed the petition to repeal this bill, and they want a no vote in November. And if the governor and the legislative leaders want to come back, then they should repeal the entire bill.
And if they do repeal the entire bill, is that the beginning or the end of the conversation?
It depends.
What about...
They have the ability, they control all aspects of state government. They have the ability to come back and repeal this bill.
And then are you willing to come back and negotiate a replacement for that?
That would at least be a starting point for us.
What about public polling that suggests that most Ohioans are in favor of some mandatory health care contribution and pension contribution? Do you risk by losing everything by taking this to the ballot and not dealing?
This entire bill was presented to us from the legislature as a package, and that is what is before voters in November. It's the entire bill. So that is what they have to decide on, the entire bill.
Are you concerned a lot of Ohioans will view this as, let's sit down at the table, talk this out, we're in an age of compromise, that if you don't accept this invitation, that you'll be viewed as the side that simply didn't want to talk?
I think that Ohioans are very smart. They were very involved in the process going through the legislature, where they were literally locked outside in the cold, and their voices were not allowed to be heard. It's awfully funny to now be standing here and talking about coming to the table when this entire bill takes away their rights to do so.
Melissa, is the committee feeling any pressure from within the compromise?
No, our coalition is very, very tight. They have come together and really want to represent and take seriously our responsibility for those 1.3 million Ohioans.
Are you at all surprised that he used the media versus the telephone?
It does seem that in Columbus, where we're all physically located close to each other, that we could have had a conversation, especially when we held a press conference on Friday, saying that we did not want to negotiate through the media, that we have a leadership structure in place, and that if they wanted to have conversations, that they should do so through our campaign manager. And once again, we're back here today. Any other questions? Yes.